Hey guys, Matt Driver here, 5x3 Fishing, and we've been talking about making your older boat look better and run faster. And today we're going to talk about something that everybody always brings to my attention, is when you have an older boat and it's set out in the sun, or maybe you've used it a lot, you start to get a milky color to the gel coat. And we're going to talk a little bit about gel coat today. To start off, you don't hear of a lot of people re-gel coating their boat. And the reason why is the boat process is kind of a reverse process when they manufacture boats. They put a mold, they put a gel coat in that mold, and then they lay your paint and your glitter on top of the gel coat. So that gel coat is the very first thing that's laid and not the very last thing. So a lot of times it makes it difficult to re-gel your boat. And the reason why is gel coat has a tendency to be kind of coarse, like a bed liner almost. When you spray it, it has a texture to it, but when you spray it on the mold, it's smooth. So that's how they get that done. So what a lot of people do is you can wet sand your boat. You know, if it has that color, you can wet sand it and buff it out. A lot of times that works. But if it's beyond wet sanding it, if the wet sand is not lasting long enough and the wax is not lasting long enough, the next step is to lightly sand your boat and re-clear it. You know, a lot of people say, well, I re-cleared my boat, it didn't last very long. You know, I'm not real sure that works, but there is a process to make it last longer and to make it look good. And prep work is really the base of how we get this started, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is prepping your boat and getting it ready to re-clear. Alright guys, to get started, before we show what we're going to need here, just to let you know, I am not a professional body man. I don't refinish boats for a living, but I have got some good advice from a lot of people, and the main reason that we're doing this series is to save you money and to try to help you out to where you're not spending thousands of more dollars on your boat. Here are a few things that you're going to need to get started prepping your boat. First of all, we have just a can of lacquer thinner here. When you go to paint this boat, a lot of times the old gel that's on here, the old gel coat, all that wax has been put on it in the past. If you don't get that off, if it's not sanded off, if it's not used lacquer thinner or an alcohol, it has a tendency to make the clear coat orange peel, which just kind of means it has a little wave look to it, and you want it to be as slick and smooth as you possibly can. So that's where the prep work comes in. So first thing that I do is I take my lacquer thinner and I take my lacquer thinner out and I rub the boat down really good before I even start to get sanding on it, and make sure that it's good and clear. Make sure that the wax coat that's on there is gone before I even start to put sandpaper to it. That's the next step. Once it's good and everything is stripped off of it, what we want to do is I use a 600 grit and an 800 grit sandpaper. Of course, for the main, all I'm doing with this boat right now is I'm doing the top ring of the boat. The rest of the boat looks pretty good. That top ring is what really takes a beating on an older boat. That's what sun hits the most, and that UV light just kills it. So what I do, just so I can cover more ground and cover it quicker, I use a palm sander to cover the large areas, and I take my sander and just lightly go over it. Don't bear down. And the part that you really want to be careful on is anywhere that there's a bend or a sharp turn. If you stick your sander on that and hold it there, you're going to dig through the gel coat that's already there all the way down to the flake, and that's not what you want to do. It makes the color not be as even. So you really want to take your time with this. You really want to be careful. And what I'm going to do here is just demonstrate on how I do the palm sander to get it right. Alright guys, now that we used our palm sander to cover our large areas, just going over just enough to smooth it out and to evenly go over the boat. The next part is what you're going to have is your areas along the edge right here that you're not able to get that palm sander to. What I do is I take and just hand do it. Just take, and I either use a block, but a lot of times your finger will just go in there really good. You can see how it gets right along that edge. Make sure that you cover it really good and nice and evenly. Don't stay in the same spot too long, but make sure your prep work is done correct before you get to your paint. We'll get to the next step here in just a second. All right, guys, we've used our palm sander. Then we've done sanding by hand around the edges to make sure that we get everything real good. And then after all the sanding's on there, you're going to have a lot of dust and stuff that's left over. What I do is take my lacquer or alcohol and I rub that really good, go over it, and that way you can see where you got and where you need to get some more. And it doesn't take very long for this lacquer to dry. Then you can get right back in there to hand sand, or if it's in a large area, you can get your palm sander on. Alright guys, we're here today at Hunter Body Shop to start to tape our boat up before we get ready for paint. This is one of the last steps, but it's very tedious and it's something that you definitely need to pay a lot of attention to. What we've got here is a standard 3M paint tape, and what we're going to be doing is running this rub rail. That's what the first thing I'm going to start with. And this is one of my least favorite parts of doing this because it is so tedious. What we're doing is we're trying to run it right down that rub rail, make sure that it doesn't touch any of the paint, make sure our lines stay good and clean. And the good thing about painter's tape is you can readjust it and get it where you need it. But this part right here, as far as having good clean lines, is very, very important. So we're going to get this taped up here and we'll move on to the next thing. Alright guys, we're done with Project Re-Clear on the 95 Cobra, and I just want to take a minute to kind of recap what we went over with this project. Lots of questions coming out. We're going to do a question and answer once this video airs and get some professional opinions on this, because there are many ways to do this. You know, you're going to have guys that tell you this will not work. They're going to tell you guys that says, yeah, this works. It's lasted for years and years on my boat. Each boat is different, depending on how far gone yours is, what type of shape, how much wax is embedded in it. Lots of different reasons that the project turns out good or bad. So, like I said, prep work is key. You know, everybody's talked about what do we use. What I'm going to do at the very end is I'm going to put a product list out. I'm going to talk about the paint. I'm going to talk about everything that we've done with this project. It will be in writing at the very end of this video. So far, it come out very good. The gel coat was pretty far gone with this boat, and I did have some cracks in it. Those were sanded down and prepped and everything, and you still can see them with a clear coat. So I mean, it's not perfect, but you're talking about a project that increased the looks of the boat substantially for less than $300. You know, depending on what you do to your boat, you can do it for cheaper, and of course, the more in depth you want to go, or if you have somebody do it, it's going to be a lot more. So hopefully you enjoyed the project. Like I said, we're going to put everything that we did, the specifics, at the very end of the video. And I'm about to step out and show you the finished product. All right, guys, we're out here, finished product, 1995 Cobra. And what we did is just re-cleared it. And turned out really, really good. As you can see, nice, slick, and clean. I've been told that there's really going to be no reason for me to wax over this. Just keep it nice and clean. You know, I asked if it can be prepped and waxed, and of course all that can be done. You can shine it up, make it look really good. But with the prep work that we've done and the materials that we use, this project should last for quite some time. So yeah, I hear guys saying that it flakes off and peels, and it's very possible that could happen. But that's the chances that we're taking when you're doing a $300 boat project. You know, to redo a boat, I would not do this to a brand new boat. You know, with this one as far gone as it was, it worked out really good, and I'm going to get several more years out of this finish that's on there. So let's just go down and check out the lines and see how well it turned out.